We're talking all of the best matchups in D3 football to start the 2025 season. Myself and Jimmy Martin. What's up, fella?
Always a pleasure, Kobe. Always a pleasure.
Dude, I'm excited about this one. We have some really, really good matchups to talk about tonight. And where else to get it started than UW Oshkosh taking on Linfield? Oshkosh 6-4 in 2024. Linfield 10-2 has been a dominant out west force, in D3 football in a landscape where you don't see a lot of top level contenders coming from west of the Mississippi. Linfield has been one of the few. Oshkosh, though, 2-0 all-time versus Linfield. Both of those games going into overtime. That is going to make this one, I think, just sets it up for an even better stage. And you talk about Oshkosh a little bit. I'm going to leave them to you because maybe you're a little bit more familiar with them having played in the WIAC. I'll talk about Linfield on this side. Losing two starters to the portal, the offensive line position and DB, one of them being an all-conference selection. Not necessarily decimated by the portal. I think you'll find that with a lot of these Division III institutions, they're not losing half their roster and turning over that mass amount of numbers on a year-in, year-out basis. They are still having a couple guys poached from top levels, though. Their top two rushers from 2024 graduate and move on. So the offensive backfield for Linfield is going to have a big question mark there, I think, for especially the early part of the season. Quarterback Blake Wheaton also done under center for the Wildcats. So like I said, that offensive backfield, big time question mark. They're going to have guys ready to go, though. Definitely trust that. Top four receivers all gone from a year ago now. The grad students, some of them in that role. This is a team that has a lot of turnover on the offensive side of the ball. And when you talk about an opening matchup against a team like UW Oshkosh, that's when question marks get exposed. That's when people who don't have a lot of snaps and game experience, that's when they go out there and get exposed. They have to learn very quickly. Now, the guys that they have coming up for Linfield, are they ready to adapt and make those changes on the fly and start to, obviously they've had time to develop that chemistry in the spring, but that's a really tough deal. On the defensive side of the ball, Blake Rybar, that's a tough blow losing him. Three-time All-American linebacker, a three-time Conference Player of the Year for this Linfield squad is also gone. Had 4 All-American selections a year ago, all of them seniors for Linfield. So, long story short, Linfield has had an incredible track record in the last decade of a very successful program that can go up against the best of the best across the country. This year, it's the passing of the torch to a new era, so to speak. Even under the same coaching tree, a new era of Linfield football. What are they going up against in Oshkosh and the Titans?
So Oshkosh, the Titans are always a gritty ball club. I've learned my lesson picking against them on the show a handful of times. They had a really good run game with Justice Lovelace leading the way. Over 700 yards on the ground last year, 8 touchdowns. Can also make plays out of the backfield, catching the football as well. Very shifty, and we call it a breakout year, but I think he's already broken out. Like, everyone in WIAC knows who this kid is.
Absolutely.
Returning 2 of 3 all-region players as well. Kyle Dietzen, absolute stud, leading the WIAC in tackles with 98. And punter Walleye Ratliff. What a football name that is.
Hell yeah.
Reminiscent of Whitefish Willie, the punter from Northern Michigan. Shout out to Whitefish Willie. But losing touchdowns tough. Staying on the staff, though, as a coach, so that's pretty exciting.
That is a neat deal.
Having an alumni stick around. Shout out to Trey, he's a good dude. But no, this would be a really, really good ball game. I'm really looking forward to this one for sure.
100%, man. And Trey, a guy we had on the podcast a while back, really sweet to see that he is getting an opportunity to stay with that UW Oshkosh squad and coach under Coach Jennings down there, which is a neat deal. But let's move forward. 2 more teams, a little bit more of an Eastern flair, Jimmy, in this matchup. Grove City going up to Cortland and taking on the Red Dragons up in Cortland, New York. This one, Cortland, of course, a team that is very closely removed from a national championship. 11-1 just a year ago, taking on Grove City, who has really emerged as the face of the PAC in recent years, especially with the departure of Carnegie Mellon. The Pack has become the Wolverines to lose. Grove City has become a program brick by brick. You see it on the helmets. They have the brick by brick stripe, and we've had the pleasure of talking with a couple of their players and members of their coaching staff. A great feel-good story, Grove City. Both of these teams now, I think, a great way to summarize this, former feel-good stories. Both of these teams, not necessarily coming out of nowhere. I think that would be disrespectful, but Grove City, a very great feel-good story of building from nothing and having a history and a bad history of losing and coming now, coming into prominence as a D3 football program. Cortland making the Cinderella run and winning the national championship, taking down the Titan that was North Central and what is North Central. There are 2 former feel-good stories in this one, Jimmy, but I think it's disrespectful to call them that anymore. Cortland, the obvious big piece, losing former head coach Kurt Fitzpatrick, to D1 Colgate. Their new head signal caller at the helm, Tom Blumenauer. He also has new coordinators on both sides of the ball heading into 2025, so a lot of maybe unknown there for the Red Dragons and learning a new scheme on all those phases. This is a totally new team than what we saw in that national championship just a few years ago. And the biggest question there is, talking about that squad, how the hell do you replace Zach Boyes? And the question, it kind of answers itself. You don't, right? And we've kind of had this conversation before when Zach Boyes lost his two best pass catchers in J.J. Lapp and, those kind of guys out on the outside. We thought there's no way they can go and do this again the following year. They did. They made another run. And now, though, you lose Boyes under center. There's no non-senior quarterback from 2024 that has seen game action. So this is going to be one where that position is going to be very fresh for Cortland, right? And that's a very interesting piece coming into this. Their running back, Ethan Gallows, going into his junior season, he'll have to be the bell cow for this offense. That's a role that he has to take on. It'll be interesting to see how they supplement the offensive skill positions with, of course, the recruiting class, the portal, and so be it. But talk to me about the Wolverines, man.
So what stands out to me with the Wolverines, I'm sure everyone that watches Division III football knows this, is that they have a brick wall of a defense, giving up 11 points a game last year, bringing back two of their 5 all-region players in Ben Bladel and Bowden Davidson. Bladel was a consensus All-American, just guys every stat in the book. 34 career sacks and 59 tackles for loss. Also a 12 forced fumbles, also number 1 in program history. Look for them to continue to be a brick wall on defense. Maybe they'll give up 10 points again this year. Who knows?
Yeah. It'd be unreal, too.
Yeah, I mean, well, why not? I mean, they've shown time and time again they can be a prominent force on defense. I mean, they're going to have a solid offensive scoring scheme as well. I mean, they're going to put points on the board, but this team is known for their defense, certainly.
That they are, and what they've made some noise in and some waves in this transfer portal cycle is at the quarterback position, right? This is a team that has seemingly signed 3 quarterbacks in the transfer portal, a D3, D1, and NAI product, so expect there to be a ton of competition heading into fall camp. That spot going to be up for grabs, I imagine, and of course, getting some reps in spring ball helps to sort out that process early on. This team could look a lot different in the fall, and so whoever shows up in those couple of weeks leading up to a matchup like this will earn that top spot heading into this game. But we'll move forward. Let's talk a little bit more WIAC, talking about this UW lacrosse team taking on Carnegie Mellon. And this is one that's really exciting for me. 2 teams that I don't believe have squared off a ton in their history. They finished 8-4 last year. The Eagles from lacrosse, ranked number 18 in Division III, reached the second round of the playoffs. Jimmy, what else do you need to know about this lacrosse team heading into 2025?
So speaking of new coordinators, as you said previously, Tarek Yagi, the former UW Stout offensive coordinator, returns to his alumni, the Wisconsin Lacrosse Eagles. Very excited for him, taking over a very high-powered offense led by Kyle Haas. They're going to have a great offensive season. Averaging 32 points a game last year, ranking 4th in the WIAC. I'm sure Yagi plans to change that. Their offensive production was solid. I mean, they scored 59 points in their first-round playoff game last year. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely don't have a shortage of offense, but I think what I like about lacrosse is they're really well balanced last year. They established the run game. They can throw the ball. Like, they have a pretty good backfield. Look for them to continue that as well. They did give up 20 points a game last year, but the WIAC is like the Wild West of Division III football. It's just 45 to 38, like scores like that all across the board. Giving up 374 yards a game. Not fantastic on the defensive end, but they did hold St. John's at 24 in that playoff game last year, and St. John's heck of a ball club, as we know.
That they are. And then you talk on the flip side of this matchup, the Tartans from Carnegie Mellon coming off of a trip overseas and playing overseas, which we got to talk with Coach Larson about, which is a really neat deal. A strong defensive identity for the Tartans, and that's what's carried this program. PAC champions in the 2021 and 22 seasons. Now, though, that team kind of playing second fiddle, in the PAC. They're actually making the move over to the Centennial Conference this fall. Will be their first year and first full season in the new conference. And now, this is that's kind of makes this a unique clash in 2025, right? These teams don't have a history of playing each other, and that's what makes a matchup like this very exciting. You talk about that defense for Carnegie Mellon. The efficiency rating of this defense, 107, best among the PAC teams based on the opponent's passing efficiency and some other statistics. What you need to know is that defensive side of the ball is what's going to be carrying them throughout the early part of this season, especially. Limited opponents to under 60% on completions and only 10 passing touchdowns across 12 games in 2024. Jimmy, a stat. Yes, you do it again. There it is. Yeah, I had to flip the camera.
Oh.
That's a ridiculous one, right? That's less than one per game for you mathematicians out there. And the offensive side of the ball certainly has its perks as well. The Tartans typically leaned on the ball control, the more disciplined, well-refined type of offense, trying to keep that time of possession battle in their favor. Playoff era tendencies, that kind of suggests fewer explosive plays, but a strong third down execution, low turnover rates, a lot of things that, you're going to lean on this defense. If you're this Tartan squad, you're going to lean on this defense to get you through some of those tough times, and then eventually that offense got to get kicking, right? You got to win games with this offense, and so this is hopefully the start of what becomes a reoccurring matchup with these two squads. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah,
be a good deal,
certainly.
Man. But we'll keep moving forward now over to another big-time matchup out east. This time, though, Johns Hopkins making the trip to Ithaca, New York, Jimmy. This is a really fun one. This is a newly created matchup, not necessarily the first, but it's only the third meeting of these two teams, the Blue Jays winning both in 2023 and 24. So prior to just a couple years ago, these teams had never faced off, which is a really neat deal. Johns Hopkins, what can you tell me about this Blue Jay squad heading into 2025?
So they can win a lot of different ways. 2023, they're just outscoring every opponent. But last fall was their defense, giving up only 13.6 points a game. Only combined one reported transfer throughout this portal that we could find. Losing their running back and quarterback pair should be shouldered much of the workload on the ground in 2024. Schroeder back in the backfield should be the main feature back. The QB room for Johns Hopkins could be an interesting one, graduating 2 seniors. However, they do bring back 2 All-American defensive backs in Carson Bordeaux and Michael Nwosu as anchors of the respective sides of the ball.
Definitely a big time. We actually had Carson on the show way back when, and now that I think about it, it might have even been 2 years ago that we had Carson on the show. But that's a guy we might have to follow up with again this fall in much more of a leadership role for this Johns Hopkins defense. Taking a look at the other side of the field with Ithaca, 3 of 4 losses last year for Ithaca came to top 25 opponents. And for a lot of people, that might be satisfactory. For Ithaca, for Coach Torper up there, who I happen to know very well, that's not acceptable for this level of squad. And I think what's really interesting about this, too, Ithaca has been a team that's been in the mix for a very long time. I'm not going to sit here and act like this is a very recent coming of some success for this squad. But when your rival in Cortland goes and elevates and wins a national championship and is at the top of their respective conference, from a standpoint of one of the best rivalries in college football, that's going to make you want it that much more. It's going to make you better. And I think that's a very neat dynamic with D3. You see it at every level, but at D3 especially, is that Ithaca now has to step it up. They have to raise their bar to match Cortland. And if you are going to win one game all year, it's going to be the Cortica Jug game for this Ithaca squad. They're not worried about that just yet. They got Johns Hopkins, a really quality opponent, coming into town, but they bring back multiple QBs under center who have seen some meaningful snaps. They bring in also a transfer from Monmouth, a D1, along with 2 top receiving threats, all of which are only going to be juniors this fall. So a pretty young core, relatively speaking, for this Ithaca group that has a couple years ahead of them. They did graduate senior safety Jake Connolly. He was the co-defensive player of the year in the conference, an All-American selection for this Ithaca team. And then some staff turnover, new coaches at running back, linebackers, wide receivers. One of them was actually a decorated wide receiver alum, and another was an NFL draftee. So really neat that you bring back some alum ties and then, of course, some professional football playing experience. But the big-time coordinators, head coaching positions are all back for this Ithaca team heading into 2025. Now, Jimmy, what are we going to do with this next one, my friend?
I'll take River. I'll talk about the Riverhawks here for you. But River Falls has won all 3 chess matches. Against the Alma Scots. River had a 27-7 lead at half last year, but did not stop Alma from fighting back to make it a 41-35 ball game in the end in favor of the Birds, sadly. But River Falls had quite a season last year, 7-3 overall, 5-0 at home, but they did lose Blaha last season. He's coming back this year. I think that's going to be a huge, huge difference to their game offensively. I think they're going to have a great year this year, a lot better than last year. 444 yards per game on offense, the best scoring defense in the WIAC last year, but they gave up 39 points a game. Yep. So that's, like I said, the Wild West of the Division III. Oh, there you go, Kobe. Yep. Go Scots,
this
baby.
This is a house divided over here, Jim. A house divided. I don't know if we call this the facility tour, D1R Bowl. We need to have some kind of title. Damn it, we might just need to be on site for this one. Knowing both of these staffs and what goes into these teams, that might be one of the first game day destinations this fall, this River Falls and Alma matchup.
Only if I can wear the Alma helmet the entire time. That's the only rule. I'll wear a kilt. I'll wear a kilt for that one. I tell you what, I got Alma all day in that one. Give me Alma. Give me him. Give me Alma. Give me Alma.
Coach Couch is going to love that. This helmet from the Scots. Check out the little insignia there. Repping the Falcons tonight, coming off that awesome facility tour down at River Falls. This one is a really exciting one. And to talk about this Alma team a little bit, this is a team, the MIAA was their conference. I think Albion used to be the team to beat in that conference. They kind of pass a torch off to this Alma squad. They go make a hell of a playoff run. They upset Mount Union. They do all of these things that Alma had never really done before. Then last year, they kind of took a step back. They lose the MIAA for the first time in a couple of years to a really talented Hope team that is making a resurgence inside of that conference. Can Alma come out in 2025 and restake their claim on top of the conference? I think so. I absolutely think so. I'm ready to run through a wall for Coach Couch and company down there.
I just got to hear some bagpipes. That's all I need. That shit's looking to be so fired up, man. Oh, my God.
Doing the kilt walk on campus
down there. I love the
there.
Bagpipes, dude. Give me
Alma,
all the bagpipes. Give me all the bagpipes. Second to none.
And there are some very, you know what, I say all this, we had a great time at River Falls. There's great history and tradition at that program as well. This is going to be an incredible matchup. Alma closed the season in 2024 at 8-2, and they bring back our guy, Carter St. John, the senior at quarterback, the man who has done it all for this Scots attack with his legs and through the air. That's the most pivotal piece of this program right now. He's back for the Scots, and he is going to be a big-time playmaker. Odin Safardine, the linebacker, the fifth-year senior All-American, 114 tackles last season for Odin on the defensive side of the ball. So, respectively, guys on each side of the ball that are going to be big-time playmakers for this Alma team. This is going to be, I think, a fireworks game, man. This is going to be, you talk about the quarterbacks on either side, the offenses. This is going to be a game that has fireworks written all over it, and I'm sweating too much to stay in this helmet, Jimmy, but I am so pumped. If you can't tell, for this matchup, this is going to be a really exciting one. Down in River Falls, Alma has to go on the road into what you know will be a hostile environment and get the job done here, dude.
St. John's going for 5 against the Cobra Kai defense. He's going to just air it out all over him. I cannot wait. That Cobra Kai defense doesn't stand a chance.
Wow.
Yep.
Coach Wiss. Hey, that's his words. Statement. Coach Wiss, his words.
Bold statement being made. I played for Stout, Coach. I just give me the Scots all day. Give me the Scots.
Moving forward, another WIAC squad. Let's talk UW Platteville taking on Aurora. Platteville 4-2 all time in this matchup. It dates back to 1940, Jimmy. Tell me about the history of this one.
So this is a wild stat for you. So out of these 6 matchups, 4 of them ended in the losing team being shut out. A lot of these matchups, 1940, 1948, 1949, 1950, 1951, 1952. Platteville leading the series all time at 4-2, but as you can see, this is a pretty historic game. I mean, they haven't played since 1952, but they have tons and tons of history, these two programs, but not very recently, that is. Platteville coming in here, bringing back almost their entire front 7 on defense, and they also bring back Garrett Stair and Tyler Bacon, both all WIAC players. The Pioneers won the WIAC on our home turf last year, so that one still stings a little bit for a Blue Devil like me. But Platteville's a heck of a program, and they've been good for a really long time, and I expect them to be really good again this year.
100%, man. You flip the script a little bit and talk about this Aurora team, one that has had so much success, Jimmy, in their respective conference. And you look at this graphic that I'm pulling up here. This is kind of what tells the story. 2024, the NACC champions, that's 6 in a row for the Spartans over at Aurora. That is ridiculous. A feat that is accomplished by very little college football teams. They have come out of this conference, I mean, you can see it the last 6 years, and have had some playoff success, need to, I'm sure in their minds, get over the hump and make an even deeper run into the playoffs. But again, you talk about this matchup in the fall. They bring back their fair share of some guys that are going to make a difference. Quarterback Tyler Aikens, the Offensive Player of the Year. Matt Kickle, offensive lineman, both first team all-conference selections a year ago. And then you look at the offense. 464 yards per game to just 235 on defense. That's a disparity that has led them to those conference championships. And I see your note there that it might be time for Aurora to make the move.
Hey, Aurora's really, really good, and Don Beebe's a hell of a coach. I think there's no reason why they shouldn't be playing North Central every single year. Wheaton every single year. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, they can compete with those teams, and I think if they want to make that jump and be really good in the playoffs, they got to have tougher competition in the regular season. That's just my opinion. They can do whatever they want.
They can that they can, but that is a neat one that again ties in a little bit of that history, which is a really neat deal, and it makes that matchup a bit unique. But to keep things moving, let's close things out here. Wheaton at Mount Union down in Alliance, Ohio. Mount 1-0 in the postseason against the Thunder. They've not met Jimmy in the regular season, and tell me a little bit about this matchup heading into this one.
So, obviously, Wheaton entering this game is a very, very strong Division III program, the Isthmus Bowl champions last season, but they will face the epitome of a dynasty in Mount Union, coming off a national championship loss last year, definitely stinging a little bit. This one is a big tone setter. Mount Union looks to extend the dominance, but Wheaton aims to gain big-time national respect. Not that they don't already, but it would just be extremely elevated. And obviously, you talk about the playoff implications of this one, too. Even though it's a regular season game and it's week one, like this could be huge for Wheaton's strength of schedule, strength of record. You know, that plays into it a little bit, you know, and like this would be huge for their morale for the entire season. They can come in and knock off Mount Union. Are you kidding me? You kidding me, Kobe?
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, I'm thinking like the Hansen ratings. I'm thinking about like spreads for this game. I mean, I don't think this will be more than like a 12 or 12.5 point spread. Like Wheaton's pretty damn good. And even though Mountain Union's solid, Wheaton's very good in their own right.
And a 12-point spread for a lot of teams might be seen as a slight, but when you're playing the Purple Raiders, it's anything but.
Exactly. And like I said, the Hansen ratings will decide that. But my prediction's 12.5 right now.
Okay. Fair enough, dude. Yeah, and this is a Mount Union defense that generated 52 sacks just a year ago, and this is a team that has capitalized every point along the way on their opponent's weaknesses and their mistakes. And you kind of mentioned it here in the notes. You talk about them going up early on Stout in the Isthmus Bowl and the turnovers generated that made that game a close one. That's going to be the kind of the strong point for Wheaton to make sure they retain the ball in this matchup.
Yeah, no, certainly. I remember firsthand, you know, I had a front row seat to the Isthmus Bowl. We were down 28-0, and our defense just continued to put pressure on them, get stops on third down, get sacks, fumble recoveries, things of that nature. And we battled all the way back to only lose by like 3 points. I think it was 35-32. Came right down to the wire, actually. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Wheaton can handle the momentum changes. I think that was one of their downsides last year, being that, you know, there were just some situations that they put themselves into that they did not have to by self-inflicted wounds. So look for them to improve on that end.
Sudden changes, brother. Look for Mount Union, Giovanni Kennedy on that offensive front, first-team All-American offensive lineman to anchor the front there for the Purple Raiders as they try and go get another ring because they were just that close a year ago. But, Jimmy, that's all we've got, brother. I really appreciate it. That gets me really excited for the slate of Division III to open up the season, man. And we'll kind of go through and maybe do some more breakdowns of some of these top teams, some of the conferences, and some other deals moving forward, man. But thank you very much, brother. I appreciate it.